Welcome back, everyone. We are good to go now, and we are starting our post-lunch proceedings. Coming up next is a session on clarity in crisis, a common sensical approach to business amid COVID-19. It's brought to you by our partners, India Accelerator. Joining us for this session, we have Mr. Sanjeev Bhandari and Mr. V. Surendra. I'll just do a quick introduction for them, and then they can share more insights on the topic. Sanjeev is an experienced senior professional with demonstrated history of working in management consulting and investment banking industry. He has an extensive experience across market strategy, M&A, joint ventures, entrepreneurship, venture capital, and international business development. Mr. V. Surendra comes with over 30 years of experience across sectors such as manufacturing, IoT, FMCG, with vast business development experience in the global market. As a life cycle consultant in the manufacturing sector space, he has helped numerous SMEs in product management, product development, and supply chain strategy. With this, I hand it over to Sanjeev to take this session forward.
Thank you, Satyan. So, welcome, guys. This I represent India Accelerator. Just to give you a slight brief about what we do, so that we can then start the session. India Accelerator is one of the leading accelerators in India with almost 4.5, 5 years of history. We run cohorts, we invest and support early stage startups who have crossed the MVP stage. And we come in as a small investor, but we bring in a lot of value in terms of getting the platform, the connects, the corporate connects, the whole ecosystem together for various ventures who need exactly this to kind of start working in this market. Along with that, we are also exclusive India partner for GAN, which is Global Accelerator Network. So we are kind of connected with a lot of accelerators around the world, wherein we exchange ideas, we exchange startups who are looking at working in the Indian market, startups who are looking at Indian startups who are wanting to access global markets. So that's the kind of a platform we have kind of been successfully built now. Apart from that, we have a business advisory group, wherein Surendra, myself, and other team members are very deeply involved in helping SMEs, Indian SMEs, to kind of with strategy and growth, and also helping them in terms of reaching out to global markets and vice versa. So we've been helping and supporting a lot of medium-sized global companies in this market for the last many years. And this business advisory group under India Accelerator, in partnership with Tatoways Consulting, is just about that. It's just about handholding medium-sized businesses in India. So Surendra, would you like to kind of come in and maybe say a few words? Surendra?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, Surendra? Yeah.
Yeah, can you? Am I clear? Am I coming out
Yes,
clear?
sir. Yes,
Yeah,
Surendra, we
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. And this is a post-lunch session, so we'll try to make it as interesting as possible. The topic for the day is clarity in crisis. I mean, the COVID is upon us, and idea is to sort of basically, discuss what are things that we can do immediately, and what approach can one take to sort of handle this in the short term and also in the medium to long term, essentially. So I'm basically talking about a zero-based approach. What exactly I mean by a zero-based approach is that there are two things in the zero-based approach. Typically, a lot of work is delegated to managers, but here is a situation where I think the business owner should take charge of several things. One thing. Second thing is, Also looking at business from a very, very fresh perspective, a complete zero-based, going back to the drawing board perspective, and then coming out with special solutions which can address issues which have cropped up at this point in time. So that is essentially the approach which I'm going to talk about. Just a minute. Yeah, so Sanjeev has already spoken about India Accelerator and Patternwise Consulting, so I will not spend much time on this. And our backgrounds have also been, we have been introduced, so I will skip the slide as well.
So I think Vijay, Satyam was kind enough to kind of give a brief overview about myself and Surendra. I think we will straight away reach to the contents of this webinar. Surendra, you can take it forward from here, though you've actually given the background.
Sure. I will take it forward. So essentially coming to the crisis immediately. So what has happened is with the lockdown, there are 4 issues that have cropped up because of the crisis. One is the lockdown, one is the uncertainty, one are issues about liabilities, and one is about the vicious cycle. So coming to the lockdown, essentially what has happened is, before this, I will be talking from a manufacturing MSME perspective. Why? Because manufacturing SMEs, cover a comprehensive range of problems and issues. And many of these are valid for trading companies or even startups and any kind of business. So when I am talking about manufacturing MSMEs, I'm talking of a comprehensive range of issues. So hence, I'll be basically focusing on manufacturing SMEs. Another issue is that I would also be sort of hinting at MSMEs, which are in a little bit of stress already coming into this crisis, so that it addresses a range of issues. So with the lockdown, what has happened is you have the factory completely shut down. Then you have things like product, which has been built but has been dispatched but is stuck in transit. Some or many of the workforce has migrated back. So you will, even if you have to start, you will immediately not get people to start. And the supply chain has been completely disrupted. You cannot get raw materials at this point in time, even if there is an emergency. I know of units, which are which have to manufacture ventilators, but their supply chain is sort of blocked. Even critical manufacturing has become a very big challenge. Then on day 1, 2, 3, the uncertainty is very overwhelming. For example, the receivables have to come in, but when will they come in? Everybody has shut down. There are payables. How do I pay if receivables don't come in? Then production has ceased. So what is going to happen to my projects or my recurring billing? So the whole thing is disrupted again. Coming to liabilities, you have fixed costs, variable costs, salaries, rent, other expenses. Then you have inventory that has become unproductive. You're not able to use it. Then loan servicing, for example, loan servicing has become a very big issue now with no production and no revenue. So this is the rising liability issues that have cropped up because of this. And fourthly, the very big worry that one has is a vicious cycle. You have increasing liabilities but zero billing. Then there is an impending, everybody is worried about what will happen post COVID. Will there be a slowdown, will there be a shutdown, and will there be an economic package? How do we sort of handle several new variables that have come in? Then you have a situation of aggregated statutory dues. Today you have the time not to pay the statutory dues, but when you start, there is an aggregated statutory due, there is also an aggregated liability, debt servicing, aggregated debt servicing. So this whole scenario comes to comes to the point of business continuity. So my whole uncertainty is now about business continuity as a small scale or a medium scale unit. How do I ensure that my business continues in a smooth and as before? Is that possible? And how should I be able to do it? So these are the issues the crisis has thrown up. And we will see how we can sort of address several of the issues. I'm already working with several SMEs, and on a proactive basis we are addressing several issues, and some have shown very distinct and good results. So I would be sharing that experience with you all. So what have structured a response to the crisis is in terms of the short term and in terms of the longer term. The suggestion in the short term is to act, and the suggestion for the long term is to plan. And the mantra for the short term should be business continuity, and the mantra I suggest for the long term is tenability. So basically, when I say business continuity, whatever I do today, any transaction that I do as a business owner should be in the direction of business continuity. So business continuity is the focus area for me in terms of whatever transaction I do. And as I keep doing these things, there are going to be a lot of new learnings, and these new learnings should translate to making the business tenable in the medium to long term. So this is basically how I've structured this thing. Under short term, under business continuity, there are three essential pillars. One is calibration of cash flow with what is available. I have a little available, and now how do I start calibrating my cash flow with that? Then secondly, how do I become nimble and avoid fresh liabilities? Third thing is establish strong controls, processes, and governance. Now that the business owner is looking into every aspect, I'm sure there are many issues that are going to come up, and essentially, this is a learning and an opportunity to establish strong controls, processes, and governance. In the longer term, so as we work through these three pillars, many problems will get thrown up, but fixing these problems and building tenability, I think should be the main focus of how I will be acting the medium and long term. And also, what is my plan for post-COVID period? So these are aspects which we will discuss as we go further into the presentation.
And I would just like to add here that though Surendra has extensive manufacturing experience, the presentation that we have created actually applies to almost all businesses, during any crisis, for that matter, and how we could actually kind of take control as founders, as owners of businesses, and not give those controls to even our chartered accountants and accountants, but have everything onto the table. So I think from there on, it actually starts, and Surendra will actually run you through this entire approach that we've kind of planned it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Talking about calibrating cash flow with what is available. The key thing here is the data. See, most of the data is with people we have delegated to. So as a business owner, here is a list of data which I absolutely need on my table to be able to take good transactional decisions. Now, what are the data sets which I would need? An elaborate list of creditors and debtors. When I say elaborate, I mean every creditor and what is owed to every creditor, every debtor and what should come from every debtor. So that is the kind of elaborate list I'm talking about, and it should be on the table of the business owner. Priority list of vendors critical for business continuity. So essentially what happens is, amongst all vendors, some are high priority because without them the business continuity aspect is under question mark. So essentially idea is to sort of get a priority list of vendors which are absolutely essential for business continuity. The third data set which I would be looking at is a comprehensive work in process data. Particularly if you are a project oriented business, if you are a tool room, for example, every tool order is a project basically. So a comprehensive work in process data, exactly what are the projects I'm doing, where are the projects, what position are the projects, the entire positioning of the project plan should be on my table, the entire landscape should be on my table. The fourth important critical data set that I would need is input inventory data and matching it to orders in suspense. Now suddenly everything is locked down, but I have a whole lot of orders on the table under execution. lot of orders are in the pipeline that are to be executed, and then I have a certain amount of inventory. Now matching the inventory with what I can do is the data I need, again very critical for business continuity. Because even if, when you start, for example, getting the fresh raw material is not going to be easy. So I have to start with what I have, which is why this data is also very important. Then another important data set is list of all customer orders to be executed. Some would be on the shop floor, some would be work in process. You would not have started a few orders, but a list of all customer orders to be executed should be on the table. List of all debt with schedules. Typically, in a normal scenario, one is not very bothered or going into too much of detail. But a list of my entire debt with schedule is a very critical information which one should have on the table. Lastly, list of the complete human resource organization with remuneration. So these are the data sets which we would need to develop strategies, as you cross every day in the process of this crisis, actually. So I would like to now share some action using this data that is actually working on the ground. So this elaborate list of vendors and priority list what has been generated. One has been able to, with many companies, create a comprehensive supplier payment plan, specifically going through 3 months and prioritizing for business continuity. So basically what you had to pay today has been divided into 3 tranches, and then within the tranches, a lot of priority has been accorded to vendors that will ensure business continuity. So that list has been made. So you precisely know you're sort of narrowed down the cash outflow with respect to vendors, at the same time keeping the priority of business continuity in mind. Second thing that has really worked is, with most of the customers, you have a standard credit period. With most of the customers, you also have a certain way of working. For example, if you are doing a supply program, you would have bought possibly 6 months worth of inventory. So essentially, approaching all these customers, and many of the customers are very resourceful. I mean, they are bigger companies, they have more resource. So going back to them and sort of discussing that, these are the issues, which will sort of choke our continuity, and hence, could you accelerate payments? Whatever bills you have accounted for, could you please accelerate the payments? So this is an approach that has actually worked. More than about 30 to 40% of the customers have really cooperated and sort of sent payments. So that means when you start something now, you had a certain amount of resource, and gradually you are building more and more resource, to deal with the situation. The third thing that has really worked is, wherever necessary, if possible, again where the customers are resourceful, you can request for advance. More so where you are maintaining high inventory. Typically, what happens is, you look at the aerospace sector. Aerospace sector, the supply programs, the numbers are low. The minimum order quantities are high. So typically, you would have bought 6 months or 1 year of stock of material and kept it in the normal scenario. But here, that can be a killer. If you have 1 month, 1 year of stock, or 6 months of stock of raw material, and you are not able to produce, send, and bill, it can be a killer situation at this point in time. So to those customers, go to them, request them to help with some advance, if not all. So this has worked. Many of the customers have cooperated and paid advances for particularly for inventory which companies are holding. So that means, you have added some more resource to your to whatever you had, when you started on day 0. Now, lastly, very, very critical is, everybody is aware of the crisis, employees, everybody. So it's very, very important to straight away prepare the employees for some sacrifice, for some tough times, while ensuring that, their fundamental interests are protected. So therefore, very critical to keep engaging with employees, discuss with them, and see, evolve a strategy of sort of ensuring that, that they are definitely paid something that will ensure that, their livelihood goes on. At the same time, the company is able to save something which it can use for business continuity. very critical in with companies, which are cash strapped, for whatever reason. So these are some of the actions that have actually worked with many of the companies over the last 10 to 15 days. A company, that had about, as an example, I'm giving a company which had 6 lakhs of thing on day zero has been able to sort of make it about 40 to 50 lakhs. So that means you have 50 lakhs which you can deploy very intelligently, very well, and ensure business continuity. So while one has done this, a couple of things have also come up. For example, banks have offered a moratorium. So why I'm saying that you need a complete list of debt with schedules is, while calculating the impact of the moratorium, a lot of people are not clear as to what is the impact. Actually, the impact is quite high. The impact of taking a moratorium blindly is very, very high. Therefore, a decision to go with the moratorium or not has to be a very considered decision. So the schedules and when you prepare the fresh schedule, and none of the financial institutions are offering a new schedule as of now. So the onus of calculating that is on us. So idea is to recalculate the whole debt and the schedule and see what exactly is the financial impact. So the business owner has to do a fine balancing act. Suppose you don't pay your debt, and you have a civil situation where your credit rating goes down, and when you start business, that will impact you negatively. So in such cases, definitely going for a moratorium is sensible. But at least one should get into this, after understanding what exactly is the impact of the moratorium. Another thing actually which one can evaluate, and this has actually worked with some, is to negotiate a cut in rental. So what has happened in the market is there is a ganging up against property owners. A lot of people are saying that we will not pay any rent and all. So there is a type of an approach. I would suggest a very reasonable negotiated approach with property owners. They also understand that the crisis has put challenges on you. So going back to them and negotiating, a reasonable cut, ensuring that their business continuity is not impacted while you get some relief. A negotiated approach has really worked well with many property owners, and cut of 50-60% has been actually given to some of our clients. And so using that, again, that adds to your resource. I mean, you don't have to deploy a resource there. You can deploy it again, in something productive and ensure business continuity. Now, the third thing which one can also evaluate is that many banks are offering COVID-19 mitigation term loans. For example, Canara Bank has a 2-year term loan with a 6-month moratorium. All right. And so they have also set a figure, depending on your exposure to the bank. For example, any account for less than 5 crores, are given 30% of the working capital limit immediately. So it may be a very good idea to take that term loan because there is a 6-month moratorium available, and again deploy it, in transactions that will ensure business continuity. So this slide, I feel, is the most critical slide of this presentation, because this slide basically talks about what we can do today and every day, from day zero to whatever has been done today, and what we can keep doing for the next few days or weeks, till the business is able to commence, till the lockdown stops and one is able to commence business. So this slide is a very critical slide, and I would request all to sort of like I said, a zero-based approach, and implement some of the suggestions that one has made in this slide, and it will do well for the business actually. Okay, coming to the next slide. Now here is a good opportunity also. I mean, you can tap the opportunity to become nimble. Again, I talk of a zero-based approach. You are at all cost centers. Look at human resource. See, over a period of time, in normal times, we tend to sort of build a lot of luggage as we sort of keep operating our businesses. But today, when you look at, when you take a zero-based approach to any cost center, whether it is human resource or whether it is the way you purchase, or you will find that there are many improvements that can be made. And So if you sort of, for example, in a couple of cases where we have uh, recalibrated the human resource to the factory layout, we find that there has been a 15 to 18% extra resource that the business was carrying actually. So that's a huge amount, and on an annualized basis, it's a straight bottom line hit. So there is an opportunity to become nimble, to study each cost center a little bit more in depth. Again, I'm emphasizing that this is where the business owner, has the opportunity to has the opportunity and the time to sort of really go deep into these matters and address, issues. Very, very critical thing is when you start analyzing these cost centers, you will find that there are gaps which will improve operational efficiency. For example, there is a tool room where the operational efficiency was about 58%. Today, with a few tweaks, the operational efficiency can go up to 67%. Now, there's a big jump because of this assessment. And when you start business, when I said medium to long term, it has an impact on tenability. So therefore, what we are doing today has an impact for the medium and the long term. No, any new expenditure, what I'm advising people is that any new expenditure you take, when you write a check only for heads or items that will ensure business continuity. Don't do anything that is not related to business continuity at this point in time. Fourth critical thing is many of our clients, express a fear that, look, if we start talking like this to our customers, is there a possibility that, some may say, look, we are not strong enough and should we, look for other vendors? This question is, my suggestion to people is that, look, this is an opportunity also to step back, take 2 steps back, be open to scaling down. If the scale down helps in making your business tenable, it's a good idea to even scale down. And another aspect is this is a time where you will also find who are good customers and who are unreasonable customers. In the normal course of business, we deal with unreasonable customers, as we deal with good customers. But this is a situation where we can sort of tweak that relationship, focus on good customers, and go back to unreasonable customers and make it known why they're being unreasonable on what issues. And here is an opportunity to renegotiate. And if one is not able to renegotiate something tenable or something that can work for both, it is good to exit also. So therefore, an openness to scaling down is not a bad thing at all, psychologically, mentally. So that preparation that I can scale down and make my business tenable, that aspect can come into our thinking process. So
I would just like to add, Surendra here.
Yeah. Please
I think in the last 2-3 slides that you've actually captured, I think for the audience, I think it's if we were to say it in a much more simpler manner, I think we need to get back into a startup mode. We need to actually take things in our control and actually have a magnifying glass for almost all the cost items and all the payables as well as the receivables, critical payables. Everything should be under the founder's control. And I think all decisions should be kind of taken, like you rightly said, considering whether it actually adds up to business continuity or not.
Absolutely. So basically what happens is when the business owner, gets into the depth of the issues, okay, you will naturally find that, these things get resolved step by step. In the normal course of business, the business owner is not involved with the business, as much as, this kind of a situation needs. But the moment the business owner gets into the depth of issues, you will find that, many solutions are available for many of these problems actually. So that's why the role of the business owner, getting into the thick of it is very critical. And coming to the next slide, establishing strong controls, processes, and governance. So over the 1 or 2 weeks, many businesses have realized that, look, it is good to have a good human resource policy. You should, and also having, very, very critical KPIs. Otherwise, how do you evaluate your team? How are performance rewarded? How are non-performers dealt with? So this is an opportunity to sort of start thinking and putting in place the structure of a good policy whether it is financial controls, accounting controls, pricing, subcontract, purchase policies. There was a very big surprise. In fact, we just found that 20 to 25 to 30% of the pricing was wrong. Absolutely, people were making a big loss to the same customer. Different products were generating different profits. So that is something which happens in the course of a normal business. But here is an opportunity to correct all that. And any good customer, when you go back to them and explain the rationale behind something that is not tenable, generally one finds that they are amenable to sort of because they also need a good supplier, a good vendor. You cannot throw a good vendor out of the system. The cost of throwing a good vendor out is very, very high for any business. So this is the opportunity to sort of build good controls and processes, and also put some robust management reporting systems in place. Now, coming to the medium term and long term actions or suggestions, which can actually work on the ground. And due to past history, one knows that these will work on the ground. So making tenability and positive unit economics should be the new mantra. Going through every product and its costing and having a fix on how much of money is one making on every supply or on every product or service is very, very, very critical. Where we find that there is a loss-making proposition, it could be one product to the same customer as compared to the other product, or you could be priced wrongly with different customers. So this is the opportunity to sort of fix, go back to them and renegotiate contracts with tenability as the core principle. And if something is not tenable, I think it's an opportunity for the business to sort of shed it if the customer is not reasonable enough to acknowledge it. So definitely tenability should be the medium and long-term mantra. And this 3 or 4 weeks, will throw up a lot of businesses, that will show up for untenability. So have a list, that you can fix when you start businesses. Plan management bandwidth judiciously. Ensure proper knowledge transfer and put KPIs in place. So what happens is, in a normal running business, when we recruit new people, many times there is no proper knowledge transfer. And one should understand that multinationals have typically fixed this problem. That's why they are able to grow, scale, go anywhere, grow big. But unfortunately, most of the MSME businesses are proprietary in nature. So this aspect is never given much importance. Knowledge transfer is very, very, very critical if you want to delegate. Without proper knowledge transfer, if a delegation happens, it leads to problems. It comes back and it shows up as poor operational efficiency and such. So it's very, very important to sort of think how I can transfer knowledge, to a new resource or even to an existing resource. In a manner where the resource can function much more effectively when we start, or in the medium to long term. Like this, we have already discussed, plan stepping back from unreasonable customers. So that was a thought in the short term, but in the long term, this is something that should be executed. Stepping back. If somebody is unreasonable, if somebody is not willing to reason and understand that business has to be tenable for you also, I think it is better to sort of step back, give them a notice period, supply 2 or 3 months, and then get out of it. And if it is untenable for you, very, very critical thing which the business owners must understand is, if something is untenable for you, it is untenable for some other vendor also. So the fear that the business will go to somebody and somebody will be able to do much better than you is many times unfounded. So I think we have to develop the strength to sort of deal with this, with business scaling down. But I think it will be a good thing if at the end of the day the business is made more tenable. Focus on business development. Well, in a normal running business typically starts coming on its own because of either branding or because you have built the required capacity, capability, etc. But now when you are starting afresh, and also when one is talking about scaling down if required, it's very critical that from here onwards I develop some good business. So focusing on business development, hiring good talent. So in the normal course of business, how much of business development talent do we even hire? Hardly. So, but this is a time where people can look around. One has time. There are many social media platforms. One can look into some talent. And then when you start, hire some good talent for business development. And I'm sure whatever scaling down happens, you will more than make up for it going forward. One very, very critical aspect, which I have noticed in the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks of working with many companies, is building energy efficiency. One of the main cost centers is power, the power bills. So here was a unit which had about 20 machines, and 3 machines were contributing to 25% of the power cost. That was a big revelation. So therefore, the decision today is that at the earliest possible, get done with those machines. Your power bills come down immediately, and it's a huge bottom line impact. The power bill for this company was about 20 lakhs, and if you are able to reduce 30%, is about 3 plus 3, 6 lakhs or 4 to 5 lakhs. That's about 60 lakhs of rupees a year. So that's a bottom line hit one is taking. So therefore, looking at energy efficiency in the medium to long term is a very, very, very important factor. Go back to your factory layouts, look at each machine, find out whether something is really energy inefficient, find out a good substitute, and find out the cost benefit, and take a call, in the medium to long term of replacing these energy inefficient and going for. So this will impact your operating efficiency as well. And lastly, talking about the post-COVID period, I think it's very important now that you have the opportunity of a fresh start, to set the right expectation for employees and investors, if you have investors, that is. But surely for employees, I mean, KPIs are so critical, and we want everybody to function to the best of their ability and give their best for the company. And tomorrow, if another crisis comes, the same company will be much better prepared. I mean, if you don't even have resources to manage 4 or 5 months of down swing, then it says a lot about what many things that one has not done in the past. Those things have to be corrected. So setting the right expectations for employees is a very critical aspect post-COVID. Leverage COVID-19 focused loans being offered by banks. Leverage, because I'm sure most of the MSMEs, have a portfolio of high cost business loans. So if a low cost loan is offered by bank, it is time where, you can leverage it, settle some high cost loans and make your loan portfolio more efficient. The third thing, prepare well for statutory compliance and taxes. Now, this is a very, very, very critical. I would request everybody to keep a focus on this. 3-4 months, the government has no revenue. Imagine when everything starts, government will be hungry for revenue. So statutory compliance, people are, and for the right reasons, are going to come after businesses and collect taxes. So preparing for that period is very, very important. So build some resource, keep some money to ensure that statutory compliances are able to be met, so that again, this is directly related to medium term continuity of business. Look for consolidation through strategic investor or M&A or MSME listing. So manufacturing SMEs and many businesses are actually orphans in the industry. No venture fund is interested. Banks are not very responsive. There is a history of inability to raise funds, and take care of opportunity. Here is a opportunity to sort of also. I should not forget succession planning. I mean, if you are not able to, second generation is not interested in many of the businesses the first generation is doing. Hence, it is very important to get the company to a shape where you are able to sort of leverage the value the company has developed over many, many years of functioning. And that value has to be leveraged, in terms of either professionalizing the company or getting investment, finding investment windows, etc. So this is a very good time for every company to get serious about getting a strategic investor, or try a M&A consolidation, or even go for a MSME listing. The MSME listing is very underutilized. It's a very good window to raise funds. So looking at MSME listing is a good idea post-COVID. So to summarize, basically, this is an opportunity to evaluate what were the hits you took during this crisis, what were the misses, and how could one have been better prepared, and what have basically covered in the 3 or 4 slides. Essentially, sort of focus on these 3 aspects, and I'm sure we will be a much better a business, that has come out of a thrashing in better shape and, with better learning. So essentially, that is what I had to sort of share with you all. And thank you very much. Sanjeev, if you have anything to add. Hello?
I think that was well captured. I think we'll have to take question and answers.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sanjeev, hi, this is Ratish Pandey. Surendra and Sanjeev.
Hi, Ratish.
Thank you for a great,
hello, Ratish.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
We loved the thought that you had on zero-based. I'm sure the audience is looking for a little bit more understanding of what I understand by zero-based.
Okay. So basically, when I say zero-based is, for example, how many of us look at how much of inventory we have and how much of that inventory can be made productive immediately as a business owner? So this is an opportunity. For example, as I give you the illustration of an aerospace company, which has 1 year of raw material inventory. In the normal course, it is fine. But today, in this situation where you are hard pressed, is it not a good idea to go back and see where are these gaps? What are things that I can do differently? For example, if I am carrying a years of inventory now, post-COVID, what will it do to my working capital? So surely, when I'm talking zero-based, it means going back to the drawing board. I listed a series of data sets, which I said, should be on the table. If you look at the data sets with a fresh mind, with a mind, which is considering the kind of crisis we are in, and what is it that we should do with the data in this crisis to ensure business continuity. And essentially, that is what is zero-based thinking. Starting afresh, starting with from zero. Look at everything afresh. Question everything. Is essentially, the summation of the thought of zero-based.
Thank you, Surendra. A couple of requests that have come. People want to see your slide and the second slide. And another question that has come is, if you can elaborate a little bit more about being nimble.
Okay. So when I say being nimble, typically in a normal scenario, let us look at the human resource aspect. So a request comes for a resource, and we don't spend much thought on because the request comes from a certain manager or from a certain department, and we exceed. So slowly, what happens is when a business is running in normal course, we tend to pile a lot of luggage, unwanted luggage. It could be people, it could be cost, it could be several things actually. When you look at, again, when I am talking of a zero-based approach, when I look at my layout, machine by machine or item by item, I will be able to sort of pinpoint what is the precise resource I need. Second thing is, now when you start afresh, for example, so let's take a scenario where a factory is working 3 shifts. Obviously, as soon as you start, you will not be working 3 shifts. You may be working just 1 shift or 2 shifts. So these are things, which we can sort of look at. Again, I would like to stress zero-based and plan our human resource for a post-COVID reality, and also from whatever existing resources that have been piled up. What is it that is really essential for the business? That is a question we can ask for each cost center and work with the team and ensure that our costs are very, very optimal. So that is what I mean by, an opportunity to become nimble.
Okay, so another thought that is being asked is on how can lean tools be applied in a scenario during COVID and post-COVID?
Okay, so essentially, when I'm talking about these 3 aspects, so one is the jargon part of it, lean, all that. But what really is lean? And what really is lean is nothing but becoming optimal, nothing more, nothing less. So when I'm talking of a zero-based approach, essentially what you are doing is you are essentially becoming lean. So apply this zero-based approach to every cost center, and you will find that you will become lean automatically, and all your actions, will fit into the whole lot of lean management jargon, which we talk in normal times. To be very brief. Hello?
Any closing comments that you would have, Surendra and Sanjeev both?
Yeah. So my closing comment is that, yes, this is a very tough situation. But then there are two aspects to this situation. One is there are many bad management decisions or transactional decisions which we would have taken in the normal course of a business that would impact this kind of a situation. That is one aspect. The second aspect is that this gives us an opportunity to sort of correct that. See what most of us are focused on what the government is doing and not doing. We also have the opportunity to look at what we have done and right or wrong and sort of fix that. So my closing comment is that people should look at a zero-based approach. The business owner should get into the depth of the issues, and thirdly, look at what transactional or management mistakes you would have made in the past and how we can sort of avoid it. Tomorrow, if we get into a similar situation, I think all companies in India should be better prepared to handle that. That's my closing comment. Sanjeev, anything you have to talk?
Sanjeev, yes, I would just like to kind of add here. Yes, I would just like to add here that, amidst all this crisis and the depression, I think these are the times that actually help us look inside. And also from the business perspective, it also might just open up a lot of opportunities post-COVID period. So I think as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a businessman, one needs to be businesswoman as well. You need to be very, very optimistic, have an optimistic view of how my business would. You have to start imagining, start anticipating, and actually you have to be open, ensuring the softer skills come into picture. What Surendra was mentioning, that it's easier to let go of very hard customers at this stage, but I think you have those softer issues also to be taken care of when you're letting go of a customer, when you're letting go of your employees, if they're taking a salary cut. So I think all those issues will tend to kind of have a long-term play going forward post-COVID. So I think that's about it from our side. Any questions, any clarifications, if you need separately, we are absolutely open for, you can reach out to us on emails or on phones. And good luck to the audience.
Yeah, good luck and all the best to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev and Mr. Surendra. Thank you for joining us. Here is a token of gratitude for you from our side.
Thank you.
For sharing your insights.
That looks nice. Thank you very much.
Great.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mansi.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Right.